Hey, everybody. How are you doing? This is your girl, Tanya Tobias, on Can We Talk for Real? Y'all already know what it is, your life and mindset transformational speaker. Listen, y'all, I got some good for y'all tonight. I had the opportunity to talk to my sister, my friend that I've been knowing for I don't even know how long I've been knowing you, but I've been knowing her for a very long time, maybe about 20 years. I think
Yeah.
about 20 years. And to have the opportunity to see her growth and see, her, that just be a woman of victory, a woman that, that not only calls on the name of Jesus and dances. I remember her dancing before the Lord, like really dancing, y'all. Come on, anointed to dance and do her thing. But to actually walk this walk, a lot of times we have life and we have so many things going on, but when you have, y'all know me, y'all know my motto, transparency is what heals a nation. But when you have someone that can be transparent in their walk with God and not afraid to tell their story, no matter how painful it is, right? Because we all have gone through something. Right.
Amen.
I mean, that's just life. Whether it could have been a breakup, it could have been business, starting a business and lost a business. It could have been, just any and everything, y'all. I mean, because life is life, right? And so, but as we go through life, the question becomes: do we stay stuck in that trauma? Did we stay stuck in that pain, or did we give ourselves permission to move forward? So I'm gonna let my girl, Cherie tell y'all her story because y'all know me, I can talk and I've been told it all, and she be looking at me like, why am I here? So I'm gonna let Cherie tell her story, but I would say, y'all, listen up, listen, tune in, lean in, and come on and get some of this good. So Cherie, girl, first of all, how are you?
I am well. Hello, everyone. I'm good. I'm good.
Awesome. Awesome. And how was your day?
Today, well, since I work in IT, it was pretty busy. I had a headache by the time I got off of work. But other than that, I had a good day today.
Okay, awesome. All right. So tell us, like, tell us your story, because I already know the story, but tell our viewers, our family, your story.
Um, well, let's say, I guess I can start from since we're talking about healing and
Mm-hmm.
coming through trauma. I've had some traumas in my life. At the age of 5, I was molested by, I guess you want to say, a family friend. And then when I was 17, I was raped by a so called friend. Um, I went through a very painful divorce from my kid's father that was also abusive.
Mm-hmm.
And now, currently, I'm going through a divorce.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm moving through the process,
Mm-hmm.
on my journey to healing.
Right. So one of the key words, I'm all about keywords, is that you're moving through.
Yes.
Because sometimes I've been a victim of or a, I won't say victim, but I've been in that place. I was stuck. I was stuck in that pain. I was stuck in that, because one of the things that people, need to understand, especially when you're talking about sexual abuse,
Hmm.
as a child, and rape as a teenager, as a young woman,
Right.
or at any age, for that fact, that's a trauma that occurs. And sometimes it is hard to move from that, to move to a place of wanting to be healed,
Right.
because I call this "I'm good" syndrome that we have, where we may acknowledge what happened,
Right.
but we have not dealt with what happened.
Right.
A lot of times we feel as though our feelings and what we experienced wasn't validated. You know
Hmm.
what I'm saying? And
Yes.
so we get stuck in our mind and in our emotions at that place and at that time, And we have to understand that that when we're going through that trauma, or when we have experienced that trauma, that whatever that we feel, that it is validated.
Right.
So when you went through, or as you're going through, and as you're processing yourself into healing, allowing God to heal you, what is that journey like for you?
Well, my healing process started when my mother moved here, actually, about 3 or 4, almost 4 years ago.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I had to face her because she moved in with me because she moved from a whole other state,
Okay.
and it was one of her boyfriends that molested me when I was
Okay.
5, and so she didn't know about it. No one knew. I didn't tell a soul,
Mm-hmm.
and I carried that from age 5 to 43.
Mm-hmm.
And when she moved here, she was with me in the house every day. And
Mm-hmm.
I had to actually, like, it's like God started bringing it to the forefront of what happened.
Mm-hmm.
And so we would clash. And I remember one day I broke down in my room. She didn't know she was there, but she didn't know because I felt like I was having a nervous breakdown for the fact that I knew God was, He wanted me to tell her, but I didn't know how.
Mm-hmm.
And so I started this support group called Tamar, and it deals with all kinds of sexual abuse. And it's a 12-week course.
Okay.
And I went through those 12 weeks. Um, the first time I had told anyone about the trauma was during the intake. And so after that, I didn't have to talk about it anymore if I chose not to. But I went through the 12 weeks and I learned so much about trauma and how it shapes who you become as an adult.
Mm-hmm.
And a lot of people wonder why they may act a certain way or why things happen in their life, a certain way. And it's all because if they have trauma that they haven't dealt with, then that's usually why. And so in this course, the most important thing I learned was who I am in Christ. I learned my God, God, like I learned who I was, like the woman of God that He made me. That's what I learned. And when I learned that, like I felt empowered. Um, I felt like all the lies that came from the devil were no more. Like it was
Mm-hmm.
a surety that I knew who I was, and that changed the course of my life. And so once I got through the class, my mom came to the graduation, that we had,
Mm-hmm.
and I mean, I told her right before we graduated because she didn't even know I was taking the course. She just knew that every Monday at 6:30 I was leaving to go somewhere, because I had to be there at 7. But she didn't know
Mm-hmm.
what was going on. And so right before I graduated, we had a class that talked about forgiveness.
Mm-hmm.
And, I had to forgive the person that abused me, the two people that abused me, my mom, and just, it was different things that I had gone through in my life, that I had to forgive. And I told her what happened, and she was crying and everything, but I felt the burden lift off my shoulders, like God, like I felt the burden lift, and I knew God was pleased because I had held that over her head for years, and she never knew what was wrong with me. It caused, like, I lashed out at people who were close to me, even at her, but I didn't understand why until I went through the class, and it was because I suppressed the trauma for so long, it became a part of me. And I felt
Mhm.
like I had a right to hold on to those feelings that you were talking about. But I had to take accountability and ownership and say, okay, Lord, yes, I went through this, but I am not this. It does not define who I am.
Right. So that goes back to what I was saying earlier. So when we have a trauma, regardless as to what that trauma is, if we don't feel validated, then some part of us is going to feel like how we react to people, how
Hmm.
we react to things is justified,
Right.
because it's like, well, this is what I'm going through, and it's also a protection of
Yes.
self. You know what I'm
Yeah,
saying? It's like that self, what is that? That self-preservation,
it
you
is.
know, where okay, I'm gonna protect me because I wasn't protected. I didn't feel protected. So
Right.
who's best to protect me than me?
Right.
Right.
Exactly.
And so when we have to face that, because and I'm a firm believer of this, because I've just what I know, and just dealing with talking to several therapists and psychiatrists and people that deal with trauma on all kind of levels. You know, one of the things that we do know is that whatever age that trauma occurred,
Hmm.
until you are healed, you are stuck at that
Oh
age.
my God.
So
Yeah.
if you think about it, and you hit it around, you hit the nail on the head when you said that, because if you think about, let's think about your own action. I think about some of mine, where I may have reacted to a
Hmm.
situation, and then when you think about like, why did I react that way? That was so childish.
Right.
That didn't make any sense for the way that I react. I could have handled that a lot better. But
Right.
again, when you go into that, I call that, and I have so many so many sayings. We call that turtle, right? Where
Mhm.
the turtle would protect itself by drawing in into the shell. So
Right.
anything
Right.
that comes out, it'll snap at it, but it'll still draw in. Why? Because you're still protecting yourself,
Right.
right? And so when we allow God to come in, or to start us on that healing, because you have to make a decision. Healing is a
Right.
choice.
Hmm.
You have to make a conscious decision to say, you know what, I'm tired of this, and I want to be healed from XYZ.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? And give
Right.
yourself permission to be healed. Give
Hmm.
yourself permission to allow God to heal you. And a lot of times, even in the Christian arena, or whatever arena that so many people want to discuss, the spiritual arena, it is okay. I'm going to say this: it is okay to go seek help. If you need to go see a therapist, and go see a therapist. That's
Right.
why they're there.
Right.
Because sometimes you got to talk that thing out, because especially depending on when and how long ago something has
Hmm.
occurred. Sometimes we have buried it so far within ourselves that we don't even realize that we are hurting, or
Right.
we
Right.
don't realize that we're angry,
Yep.
from that thing that happened, or we don't realize that it was buried so deep that we have actually pushed it outside of our mind. That's also a protection thing. Well, I'm
Hmm.
not going to deal with it because I still got to move forward. I
Right.
still, okay, that happened, but I still got to move forward. This happened, but I still got to move forward. I don't have time to focus on that. But in actuality, we do have to make time so that we can be healed,
Right.
right? So that we can walk in a healed place, and if we don't allow ourselves to be healed, you're going to be
Mhm.
99 years old still carrying a
Yeah.
burden that you don't have to carry.
Right.
So it's just like you said, when you had to face yourself, when you
Mhm.
and that's not always easy.
It wasn't easy at all. I know after the 12-week course, I did get into therapy, and I'm still in therapy. It's been 2 years
Mm-hmm.
that I'm still talking about things to help myself to become better and to move forward. But one thing I can touch on that my therapist also told me, that healing is a choice. And she was saying that, if these people never apologize,
Mm-hmm.
you still have to make a choice to move on with your life. And yes, again, like I was saying, yes, those things may have happened, but I can choose to stay there and
That's right.
keep allowing the devil to play over in my mind to see that 5 year old girl sitting on that bed and the man standing there in between her legs. I can keep seeing that every day, or I can say, okay, God, I'm giving this over to you and I trust you with my life and I'm going to move forward. And so I made that choice. And no, I'm not perfect by any means. I still have moments,
Mm-hmm.
but I'm not angry anymore.
Mm-hmm.
I carried that anger. I remember um, when I was a small girl, like I had Barbies and stuff that I would just tear to pieces,
Mm-hmm.
arms, the heads, the legs, everything, just tear them all up out of anger.
Mm-hmm.
And it was all because of what happened to me.
Mm-hmm.
Um, it's so ironic that we're talking about trauma because I am working on a writing project that is dealing with trauma
Okay.
and pain. And so I'm glad that I have this opportunity to talk about it.
Yeah, because I think it's, for me, it's really important, because again, transparency is what heals a nation.
Right.
And I'm always saying, love you enough to be good to you. But how do you love yourself enough to be good to you? Is give yourself permission to say, you know what, I went through that,
Right.
but I'm also going to love myself enough to be healed.
Right.
I don't have to be stuck in that I've gone through, because just like you, I was molested. I've, been in abusive relationships, and, and I can go down the whole list,
Right.
you know, but when I think about the goodness of God,
Yes. Yes. Yes.
that I'm not what I've been through, what I'm saying?
Right.
I'm not, yes, that's my experience,
Yep.
and it makes me relevant to be able to talk to other people about their traumas, from a personal perspective. But
Hmm.
I don't have to stay stuck in
Right.
that. I
Exactly.
choose not to stay stuck. I choose to
Mhm.
walk healed. I
Right.
choose to walk whole. I don't want, I don't, and I remember I was sitting on my couch one day and I was going through something where um, it was so painful for
Mm.
me that I couldn't even sit there and watch. And one of my favorite shows is Say Yes to the Dress, and I
Mm.
couldn't even watch that, because it was just painful for me. And
Right.
I said, wait a minute, God,
Mm.
I'm not doing this.
Right.
And I was just like, come on and heal me quickly, because I don't want to stay stuck in this anymore. But it's something when sometimes we have triggers that
Yes.
we don't realize what the trigger is until we're triggered.
Right.
And so, but we have to, and I'm going to keep saying this, we have to give ourselves permission
Hmm.
to feel what we felt,
Right. Right. Right.
and what we're feeling in that moment, to say, okay, this is what I'm feeling right now.
Hmm.
And no, it doesn't feel good, but to actually absorb that moment so that you can say, okay, this is where I am. This is what I'm feeling. This is what's happening with me right now.
Right.
God, how do I maneuver from this place?
Right.
Because if we don't, then we're going to continue to keep
In
going
the
around
circle.
in a circle. We're
Hmm.
going to continue to visit that mountain, and we're going to continue to, to go around and around and around, and wonder why. I always say this, no matter who comes and who goes in our life, we're still the common denominator. Why? Because it's still
Right.
your life.
Right.
Right. So if you having the same thing happening over and over and over again, but you're having different faces, that means that there's something in your life that you have not dealt with, and you're
Right.
still attracting that. Right.
Hmm.
And so when we talk about healing, we have to acknowledge
Yep.
that a lot of times it's not them, it's us.
Amen. Amen.
We don't want
Hmm.
it. Like you said earlier, you had to face you. I had to
Right.
face me, and it wasn't pretty.
Right.
It wasn't pretty, because I had to acknowledge, my hurts and my insecurities,
Hmm.
and why I felt so guarded, and why I always feel like I had to be like I had to I call that where I always felt like I had to fight for my place in life.
Right.
Right.
Yeah, I've been there. Yeah.
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 And so, but it goes back to, okay, what happened? And so
Mhm.
some of the things, especially if as a child, we remember the overall, but we may not always remember the detail
Right.
as to what that trauma happened when we were a child or a teenager or a young adult, because our mind would protect itself.
Right.
And
Mhm.
so, and I want to commend you for allowing yourself to go through the healing process, to say, you know what, I deserve to be healed.
Yes.
I
You
deserve to
do.
be whole. I
Mhm.
deserve to be okay.
Yep.
I don't have to walk around angry.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? I don't have to
Yes.
walk around side eyeing people because I don't trust them, and they
Right.
haven't done nothing but speak. Hey, how you doing?
Right.
Like, what you want? You know what I'm saying? Because now
Right.
you automatically become on the defense, and that's because of what you incurred. So that's because of the hurt that you have not allowed God to truly heal
Yeah.
you from
Right.
that place. You know
Yeah.
what I'm saying?
I know exactly what you're
And
saying.
so, but even like you said something earlier, forgiveness. One of the things that we have to do is forgive. Not
Mhm.
only forgive the person or persons that
But you,
has
yeah.
caused the trauma, but forgive yourself too for
Yep.
carrying it.
Yep.
You know what I'm saying? Because a lot of times when we carry, because we all got that saying, cast all your burdens on God, leave it at the altar. You know what I'm saying? We're saying all of those wonderful cliches, but in
Yep.
reality, we don't do it.
We don't.
We
We
don't do
don't.
it. And then we wonder why we have headaches. We wonder why
Mhm.
we have anxiety. We wonder why we have depression. We wonder why we don't feel good. You know what I'm
Right.
saying? And you go
Mhm.
to a doctor, they can't find out what's wrong with you because it's spiritual, it's
Right.
mental,
It is.
And
Mhm.
so when we allow God to really go in there and heal, I'm talking about really heal. That's a process, and it's not a quick fix. I wish it was.
Mm-mm.
You know
It's
what I'm
not.
saying? And I know God can do miracles, and I'm not saying that He can't. But for the majority of us, it
It's
is
a
a
process.
process.
Yeah, it is.
And I
Mhm.
won't say day by day. Sometimes it's moment by moment.
Mhm.
Because I personally know, as I have had to coach some women into their healing, some older women, I'm talking about like grandma age, what
Mhm.
these days, grandma age could be any age, but 60, 70, 80 years
Right.
old, and still carrying things, because it's not okay. And this is something that bothers me, is that a lot of times, especially in our community, is that we sweep things under the carpet.
Mhm.
Okay, well, it's time to throw that carpet away.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? And be okay. And because what we as women have gone through, it was real.
Right. It was.
It was real, and it was hurtful,
Mhm.
and it was traumatic. It was horrific. You know what I'm saying? And we
Yes.
got to speak on those things, and
Mhm.
our feelings, what we felt was valid,
Right.
regardless as to how you felt. Why? Because it was your feeling from what you experienced.
Mhm. So it was one thing that I wanted to say that you talked about, sweeping things under the rug reminds me of a saying that most Black families grow up with. What happens in this home, stay in this home. That is such not a good thing to teach, because that's where a majority of when a person is molested or sexually abused is in the home. And so to teach that, it has proven over the years that it's just not a good thing to say from generation to generation to generation. We have to come to a point where our household is open to share and open to discuss those tough things. It wasn't until when I came out that I had been molested that it opened the door for my children to come. And that thing that Satan meant to destroy my kids' life and my life, God turned that thing around. I didn't even know, like, the stuff that happened to them, I didn't even know. And it
Mm-hmm.
happened. First, I was young and married at 20, I think.
Mm-hmm.
Having kids, I was sold out to the church that I was at the time.
Mm-hmm.
And so it was church, 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 church. And I didn't even know what was going on with I was an involved parent, but it was other stuff that was going on that I didn't know about.
Mm-hmm.
And so the same thing happened to my kids.
Mm-hmm.
And like I had to deal with all of that, but me coming out with what happened to me opened the door for them. And they
Mm-hmm.
didn't have to carry it for 38 years like I did.
Mm-hmm.
You know, they told me, I found out probably within the last 4 years what happened. And
Mm-hmm.
now, you know, my oldest daughter, she goes in and out of therapy. And then my son is done with therapy, but you know, his whole life has changed. So it's just good to leave that door open for your kids to talk, and don't try to keep now everything within the home. No, I'm not saying tell all your business. I'm saying when it comes to certain things, your kids have to feel comfortable
That's
with
right.
talking to you about, okay, well, this happened. And they shouldn't feel like, well, if they tell you, you're not going to believe it.
Exactly.
So,
Exactly. And that's one of the things that, even with my own children, you know, and this another thing as parents, and I'm gonna say this kind of side note is that our kids have feelings.
right.
You know what I'm saying? No matter how, I was like this great mom, and I remember having a conversation with one of my daughters, and she was telling me how she felt growing up, and I was just like,
I've had those conversations.
right. And I'm not gonna lie, my feelings were hurt because I
Mhm.
just thought I was a very good mom. And I was a good mom, but one of the things that we have to understand as parents, we only know what we know when we know it.
Right. Yep.
Right. We always have hindsight. We can always do better. So I just feel like every generation should be better than the one
Yeah.
before because
Good.
they
Yep.
gain more knowledge. Right.
Hmm.
That does not mean that we are perfect parents, but when we, even with our children, as much as we think that we are a good parent, guess what? They still have feelings too. So with my daughter, when she told me that, although my feelings were hurt, and I wanted to say, but it was, but I still
Yeah.
had to acknowledge
Yes.
how she felt, and I apologize for hurting
Right.
her. And I didn't even know that I did. That was never my intent. But the fact that, a lot of times, like you said, especially with the older generation, well, it's what I say, and then that's the end of that. But our children have feelings,
Right.
and they can only see it from their perspective because their perspective is their reality.
Right.
And our
Hmm.
perspective is our reality. We're doing what we feel like is best, and they may feel some sort of way, and that's okay. But it's okay for them to feel what they feel, just like it is okay for us to feel what we felt,
Right. Right.
right?
Hmm.
But I always feel like but it's not okay to, like you said earlier, to believe the lies of the enemy, to stay stuck in something that's negative. And
Right.
because a lot of times we will believe the lie of the enemy faster than we will believe the truth of God.
Right. But it takes though it so when a person has been traumatized,
Mm-hmm.
like it doesn't matter what someone else may tell them. It's
Mm-hmm.
not until they come into the realization, I need help.
That's right.
It's like a light bulb for me came on because my kids were like that anger I took out on them.
Mm-hmm.
My husband at the time, I took out on him.
Mm-hmm.
So and they all would come to me, you're so mean, you're this, you're that, but I didn't realize it. I was acting out of trauma, and it's like a light bulb came on one day that I needed help.
Right.
I needed help, and that's when I signed up for the class and took the class, and I learned so much. And shout out to Pastor Shelley and his wife because they started this movement almost 20 years ago, and they have been changing lives of people that has been through sexual abuse trauma.
Yeah. And it's important because anytime that you have any type of abuse, whether it be sexual abuse, drug abuse, um, that creates a whole nother door that's opened, right?
Mm-hmm.
Where we need help,
Yes.
we need deliverance, we
Yes.
need the power of God to shut that door.
Right.
Right. Because a lot of times, and I know this even with a lot of people that I know that that has sexual abuse, right?
Mm-hmm.
You go from either you're going to be out there
Right.
or you're going to be so closed in that you're not going to let anyone come in,
Mm-hmm.
right? Whether it be drug abuse, you're going to be so out there that you're going to start hiding, that you're going to, you know what I'm saying? There's so many different things that go along with whatever that abuse is. Because, you know, Satan don't play fair.
No,
You know, he'll try to get you
doesn't.
any way that he can.
Mm-hmm.
But then that's when you look at yourself in the mirror and, like you said earlier, when you really understand who you are
Mm-hmm.
as a person, bump all the titles.
Right.
But who are you? Who has God created you to be? You know
Right.
what I'm saying? I'm not talking about. I'm not talking about titles as far as ministry. I'm talking about
Nope.
being a wife, being a mother, being a
Right.
sister, being a cousin, being a friend. But who are you as a person,
Mm-hmm.
right? And when you look at yourself in the mirror, you don't know
Right.
because you especially when you have suffered a trauma at an early age, you become that trauma. You become formed based on what they said who you're supposed to be, right? And
Mm-hmm.
so, but when you say, well, that's not this their skin don't even feel comfortable, you know. So
Mm-hmm.
now you fighting against the brick of what they said, but that's not who God created you to be.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? And so
I
now
know
you have to
exactly.
go back in and it's almost like what they say, reinvent yourself, you
Right.
know, and understand who you are as a person. One of the things that I listened to Lisa Nichols, and one of the things that I took away from one of her conferences that I just love, and I do it on a consistent basis, you
Mm-hmm.
know, where she say, well, name I think she said 3 things, but I started doing 5 things. Like, name 5 things that you want to let go. I'm talking about look at yourself in the mirror. Name 5 things that you want to let go of,
Mm-hmm.
right? And name 5 things that you want to welcome.
That's
Believe it
good.
or not, when you are going through your healing process, you may only can name 1.
Mm-hmm.
And that's okay, but you got to start somewhere,
Right.
right? You got to give yourself permission to be healed. You got to give yourself permission to be who you are. You got to
Mm-hmm.
give your whoever you are, give yourself permission to stand in that person
Right.
and emerge from the ashes. You know what I'm
That's
saying?
good. That's good.
And
That's
so, and
good.
as we do that, as we allow ourselves to be healed and we allow ourselves to be whole, and when we allow ourselves to say, you know what, God, show me me, show me who I am. And
Yeah.
when you take that mask off and you be like, man, am I really, is that really who I am?
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Because and it's so much because I like even for myself, right? And I think about, okay, and I really begin to understand, like, okay, I want to lose weight,
Mm-hmm.
but why am I losing weight beyond the clinical stuff, right?
Right.
Okay, like what's really happening here? What am I carrying that has
Mm-hmm.
manifest in the natural? You know what I'm saying? Like, I'll be going there on myself, like, for real. You know what I'm saying? But I
Yeah.
had to grow to that place,
Mm-hmm.
you know, and then God started showing me, and I was just like, you know what I'm saying? And so, but I had to be ready
Mm-hmm.
for what I was asking for, you know,
Right.
because
Mm-hmm.
we have, like, and I said again, we have the I'm good syndrome. I know I went through that, but I ain't got time to deal with it. But a lot of
Mhm.
times we think because we acknowledged it that we dealt with it, and you haven't.
No.
Because it's going to come out like you said. You might be snapping at your kids, or with me, I would hold people at bay. Like I'll let you get close to a point, and then if I did let you come in and you hurt me, now I'm looking at you like the enemy
Right, right, right.
because I let you into a secret place and you violated that
Mm.
again. Someone violated that again. You know what I'm saying? And so I remember my mom to say, "Well, you need help. You need to talk to someone." I said, my attitude was about what? I'm good, but
Well,
in
I
reality,
think
I wasn't. I
right.
wasn't good. But I
Right.
couldn't see that.
Well, I think for like in my situation, I took on that I'm good attitude for one because even after I went through the divorce with my kid's dad, I was a single parent, and so you you realize that no one else is going to do it for you. You just got to do
That's
it.
right.
And it didn't matter if you was good or not. You just had to make things happen. I had 3 kids looking up to me to make sure they were good. So if I was good or not, I just had to keep going.
Right.
But all of that caught up with me
Mm-hmm.
because again, trauma shows up in every part of your life.
That's right.
Whether you think you may have dealt with it and something triggers, and here it is again staring you in your face. So it really is something that, like, I know one thing that helped me during the healing process, and even now, because I'm dealing with some things and I'm going through another healing process, um, I write. I write just to express those feelings. Another thing that my therapist had me do when I first started therapy was write a letter, like, because trauma affected my relationship with my father, with my mother, my children. Um, it just affected a lot of friendships and stuff that I had. But she made me write letters. She had me write letters to the people that I needed to forgive.
That's good.
And to write though to write a list of the people, and then to write, and it didn't have to be anything drawn out, but
Mm-hmm.
just to write what I needed to say to them, even though I may have never faced any of them,
Mm-hmm.
but just to be able to put pen to paper and write
Right.
how I felt, like you said, it validated those feelings, and I didn't have to carry them anymore. Because her thing was, you need to get your feelings out of there so that you can heal. As long as you're holding on to your feelings and wanting to feel like um what's the word, uh I guess, well, just holding on to them and carrying them around like, they're a part of you, your healing is going to be like far, it's going to be
Mm-hmm.
far and in between. You're never going to come to a place of wholeness. It may be parts that may be okay. I'm okay here, but then I'm not okay there. But in order for you to become complete and whole, you have to deal with everything that you have gone through from your past that you have never dealt with.
Exactly. And one of the exercises that I do, as I'm talking to women, um, is I have them on a piece of paper. I don't know if you can see this or not. And I have them to
Yeah,
write
I
down,
love it. Yeah.
whatever it is, a heart, right? And
Mm.
they write down whatever it is they felt, or whatever they feel. And I have them, and I got this from my mom. My mom was an excellent when it comes to inner healing. That's my mom's thing. And I have them put a band-aid over each of those things,
Okay.
right? And
Mm.
so, and when they're ready, they peel back the band-aid over that one thing
Okay.
to deal with that one thing. Because we don't have to eat the whole pie at the same time. Because remember, we say healing is a process. You
Right.
know, we are processed into our healing. We're processed into ourselves. We're processed
Mhm.
into our promise. You know, everything that we do is a process. Even when we're at the moment of conception, it's a process before we are a whole being with hands and all of that, right? So everything
Mhm.
from the moment of conception is a process in our life. So why do we feel like healing has to be instant? You know what I'm saying? Because it's
Right.
not. It's not.
Mhm.
It's not instant. Now, again, yes, we know that God can do miracles and He can do whatever He want to do with that
Right.
person. But for 99.9 of us, right, healing is a process, and we have to be okay with the process
Right.
and not rush the process. Why? Because when we're talking about healing and to be whole, you know, it takes time.
Right. It's like you got to think. So if you're gonna talk like if we're talking about being made whole, a great example is the woman who had the issue of blood.
Mm-hmm.
She made a choice to say, "I'm tired of going through what I've been going through for what was it, 12 years?
12 years.
Yeah, 12 years."
Mm-hmm.
Um, God wants us to come to a place where we are tired of carrying it, and
Mm-hmm.
once we make a decision, he'll meet us halfway. He'll come through. You do your part, he'll do his part. But it's all based upon he's not a forceful God. So he's not gonna force you to be healed. It's something that you have to decide. If
But
you
here's
want
the
to be
thing, even with God, He doesn't meet us halfway. He meet us all the way.
okay,
Right?
okay.
He meet us
Mm,
all the way because He said He will never leave us nor forsake us.
true,
Right? If
true.
we draw to Him, He's going to draw to us. God's waiting on us.
Right,
Right? Like He's not going to say, okay, now you here. Now you know how we do with training wheels. Now you go on.
right.
You know, no,
Yeah,
He's going to make sure He's going to process us into that wholeness because that's just the type of God He is.
right.
You know, so when we talk about healing and allowing God to do His thing,
Hmm.
right? He meets us. He take us from point A to point Z and every
Everything in
8.1,
between.
8.2. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
He takes us through the process based on who we are.
Hmm.
You know what I'm saying? And based on what we're ready for. You know, because it's just like I was talking about that heart. And sometimes even with the band-aids, guess what? You may not can take the entire band-aid off because just you peeling it could hurt. You know what I'm
Hmm.
saying? Just you having the fact that you had to put the band-aid on there.
Right,
You see what I'm saying? That might be all that you can do right then. And that's okay. Because
right,
the thing is, you started the process. You allow God to start the process, you know. And if it takes 10 years, if it takes 2 days,
right.
you see what I'm saying?
Hmm.
Because again, no one can tell you how to go through your process because when
That's
you
true.
say, God, you know what, here's my heart. Because sometimes even when we're praying, and I've been there where I couldn't say words. My prayer was just tears.
Yep.
I was hurting just that bad, you know, and I had
Hmm.
to allow God to it was only me and God.
Right,
I
right,
didn't I didn't know how to first of all, I didn't even know how to be healed, you know, and then sometimes when we have carried something for so long, we don't know what's there.
right, right.
You know what I'm saying? We don't know how deep it is. We
Hmm.
just know, like I said, we just know what happened because even when I was molested as a girl, there was things that I didn't remember till I got older because I
Right.
was still in that protection, that protection mode,
Hmm.
right? And so as I started my healing journey, I was like, man, I experienced that, I experienced this, you know what I'm saying? But I was able to handle it at that time
Hmm.
because I was on my journey,
Right.
you know, and then here you go, like, okay, so that's like you, I've been married, you know, and divorced. That's another process, you
It
know,
is.
where was I not good enough? Why did I, you know, you go through this whole list. So now you beat yourself. Like we so good about beating ourselves up,
Yeah.
you know, where we beat ourselves up instead of say, okay, God, I experienced that. Now, how are you going to heal me from this? I give you permission to be healed. And guess what, Tanya? Guess what, Cherie? I give you permission to be healed. You don't have to live in the trauma.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? You don't have to
Mhm.
be the trauma.
Right.
You know, you can be healed from that, and that makes you more relevant to someone else that's gone through or going through what you went through. You can say, but nobody but God.
Yep.
You know what I'm saying? And here are my resources. You know, I
Exactly.
talked to, you know, a counselor. I talked to a therapist. I talked to my pastor. I talked to, you know, whoever it is that we need to talk to. And this was my process. My process may not be your process, and vice versa, and that is okay. But
Right.
and I'm going to say this until I'm probably blue in the face. It's not okay to stay stuck in it, because when you
Amen.
stay stuck in it, then you're not living your life in the
In
fullness
the
of what
fullness.
God would
Yep.
have for you. Because when we talk about God gives us life and give us to us more abundantly, that's
Hmm.
an abundance of healing too. That's abundance of love. That's an abundance, not just money, but that's an abundance
Right.
of joy, an abundance of peace. Because
Hmm.
when we are living our trauma, then that means that we are living in torment.
Yep.
You know what I'm saying? Remember they had that slogan where, I'm not gonna be silent anymore. I'm gonna speak up, but we will only speak up to a point. We will only
Hmm.
speak up to our healing. You
Right.
know what I'm saying? The places that we were broken, we don't speak on those things because we're broken. I don't want no one to see me because I don't want to be exposed anymore. You see what
Right.
I'm saying? Regardless
Hmm.
as to what that trauma is. And so when we allow God to truly show us ourselves and say, you know what, God, you said that I'm your daughter, you said that I'm your son, and I went through that, and you said that healing is my portion. I can be healed. I can be just like you said, a woman, that touched him in his garment. You know what I'm saying? I mean, we can go through the word. Even when people were dead, Jesus went in
Raise them.
and
Yeah.
rose them from the dead. So,
Right.
we can say, let these dry bones, these ashy bones, these dead bones, they can live again.
Yes, they
My
can.
dreams can live again.
Hmm.
You know what I'm saying? The vision that God gave me as a child can live again. You see what I'm saying?
Yes,
But a
it
lot of
can.
times we don't allow ourselves to live because we are stuck in that trauma. We're
Right.
stuck in our past. We're stuck on what they said, who we are. You see what I'm saying? And that what's that song? Because I'm not gonna sing because I sing in all the keys at the same time.
I don't sing either, so
You know what I'm saying? But they said I'll never make it. I shouldn't be here today. You know what I'm
Hmm.
saying? But I know God. God says, I don't care what they said. I said that you are gonna make it.
Right.
But we have to have that confidence in God and that confidence in ourselves to say, you know what, I don't have to be that thing.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? I don't have to look at people sideways that I don't even know. The only thing they did was say, hey, how you doing?
Hmm.
We don't have to, sweep things under the rug anymore. Pick up that rug and don't dust it off, throw it away.
Hmm.
Sweep the floor, mop the floor, get all that mess up so that you can live and
Yes.
not just exist, not just go through the movement or the motions of life, but to truly live the life of abundance and be free.
Right. Right. Right.
Be free. You know what I'm saying? And
Hmm.
so, but you have to, the first thing is you have to give yourself permission.
Yes.
Give yourself permission and say, you know what, I experienced that, and it is okay for me to be whole.
It is. Yep.
It's okay for me to be free. It's okay for me to be healed. I went through that, but I'm not that. I don't even live over there anymore. That's not my
Right.
address.
Right.
You see what I'm saying?
Hmm.
And as we're talking about healing techniques, and you said it, the first thing is that we got to forgive.
Yep.
Forgive the ones that did it and forgive yourself.
Hmm.
Because when I say forgive yourself, because when we go through something, we say, well, why did I even allow myself to go through that? So now you start beating yourself up based on someone else's actions.
Hmm.
Here, my thing was, here I am again. I'm going through this all over again. Like, Dad, Tanya, you know what I'm saying? Okay, then God, what is this? Because we're not doing this mountain no more. I'm done.
Right.
You know
Right.
what I'm
Right.
saying? So forgiveness, and then pray and meditate. Have a whole conversation with God. Like, God, what is it? Show me me.
Hmm.
Who am I in you? You know what I'm saying?
Right,
And
right,
then give yourself affirmations.
right,
You know, I am strong. I am beautiful. I am whatever it is, whatever. Because we say I am, that means we're allowing God, because He is a great I am. So
right.
we're allowing God to go before whatever we say.
And that's why it's important for a person to know who they are in Him, because you can get in the Word and read, because He tells you who you are through His Word. So that is important.
Exactly. And then find a hobby.
Yep.
You know, like for you, I'm a writer. You're a writer.
Mm-hmm.
You know, go work out. Whatever it is that you like to do. If you want to build a house, go build a house. I don't know. Whatever it is that you want to
Yeah.
do that.
Mm-hmm.
So you start putting your hands to work. That you're not just sitting there idle.
Right.
You have a hobby, and then change your focus.
Yep.
Change your focus on the trauma. You say, you know what? I went through that, but I still walk in victory.
You're right. Right. Right.
That was my trauma, but I don't live my trauma.
Right.
I'm not stuck in my trauma. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
I'm processed from that trauma.
Mm-hmm.
But I will that was my experience that makes me relevant to someone else.
Right.
But I'm not stuck there. So when we change our mindset
Mm-hmm.
on how we feel about ourselves, because what happened happened,
Right. And there's
right?
nothing you can do about
You
it.
cannot, there's nothing you can do about what happened, but you can do something about it, how you view it and how you
Right.
look at yourself.
Right. That's true.
So I want to say thank you so much, Cherie,
You're welcome.
for hopping on with me on tonight and just being transparent. Because again, transparency is what heals a nation. So listen, family and friends, sweet babies out there, if you are going through any type of trauma that you have experienced, whether it be from a young child to a young adult or to an adult, it doesn't matter the age. I want you to know, and we want you to know that you don't have to be that trauma. You don't have to name yourself that trauma, that you can rise above that if you give yourself permission to and allow God to process you into your healing. I love you. This is your girl, Tanya Tobias, your life and mindset transformational speaker on Can We Talk For Real? Come on, y'all, join me on every Tuesday night at 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time on OPNS 97.1, your 24/7 inspirational gospel station. I love you all. Cherie, hold on.
Okay.